Ouch, is about to get messy. What does this one even do? Okay, that's not the one. Excuse me, I'm not ready yet. My name is Channy. My pronouns are they, she. And I am a biracial person of color, who is also queer and non-binary. This is my channel. We're gonna do makeup, skincare, talk about life, talk about experiences, talk about identity. If that sounds good to you, and you don't mind this little crumbling in the background, join me. Life feels crazy. So I just decided to come on here and low pressure do some like makeup playtime while we talked about what it means to get by and the expectations that people have for what is like healthy coping or healthy ways or healthy things to look forward to when you're trying to get your feet under you and remember what it is to partake in your life in a joyful way. Because I feel like there's a lot there, and maybe we won't end up talking about that. It's me. We might, like, you know, jump to a completely different branch on this conversation tree, and I hope you're here with me for that, because I can't escape it, and I need some company. So with that, this is makeup playtime. It's also sort of first impressions for a lot of these things. There were some bomb-ass Boxing Day sales, one of which was with Athr. Athr Beauty, if you don't know, is a phenomenal beauty brand that does these amazing eyeshadow palettes, but they also have a couple other products that I was looking at, and I was like, ooh, you cute, hey. And they had this wild sale going on, but I got 2 eyeshadow palettes from them. I got the Moonlight Crystal palette, and I also got the Desert Sunset palette, and I got this palette mostly because I heard from a couple people that it's really good for folks with brown eyes. So I was like, okay, cool, we'll F about with that. And alongside that, this was kind of before the Tower 28 mascara came in, or before it came back in stock, so I also ordered the Athr Beauty The Big Bang mascara, and I'm excited to see if it's like chunky, if it can be more of that like grungier go-to mascara, but whether or not it crumbles. So I guess I will do a little insert if I'm on it later in the video about that, kind of showing the wear test from the day. And last but not least, from Athr Beauty, I also got their Desert Rose Lip and Cheek Oil Stain. Have never used these. I'm not sure if I'm going to use these today because I am a little bit more excited about something else that I got that I really want to share with you. But yeah, I got these in 2 different colors. Again, the sale was phenomenal, so I got these in Wisdom and Harmony. So maybe I'll just do like a little baby swatch. This dog is leaning on me like I'm an armrest. And there are things over there that I have yet to bring over here to use. So we have ourselves a dilemma because I always feel really guilty displacing dogs or animals that are resting on me. I wish you could see this. I don't know what this is going to turn into. I don't know what this is going to be. I think I have some ideas of what I'd ideally like to use. I'd really like to use my Kulfi concealer because, of course, in the shade Mango Drop, to see what that looks like. I have, where is it? I love Pat McGrath. I have the Utopian Dreams palette. It was wildly expensive. I have no regrets. I have been wanting one of her blushes for a really long time, and I'll be real with you, watching Kaki's channel and watching Kaki talk like a good chunk of last year about, or maybe like the year before, about Pat McGrath's lip glosses, I've really wanted to get some, but I couldn't really justify the cost because I don't do makeup every day. But again, sale, so I got 2 of Pat McGrath's lip glosses, and today I think I really want to try the Lust Gloss in Astral in Flashdance. You can see it's this like wild multi-chrome purple, and yeah, it's just cool. I've worn it a couple of times, but not really over other colors on my lips, so we'll see how that goes. I am also planning on maybe like putzing, like just trying out this Juvia's Place, I want to say like matte lip stain in bronzed chestnut. It's a little mini and it's super cute. My friend Alana got this for me. She's the sweetest. There were like 3 minis in a pack, and I think I have a couple other ones. I have one that looks like legitimately like pumpkin puree, and then another one called Bronzed Toast, which is just like a slightly lighter brown. And so I would say this one can go really, really dark really quick, and this one's more like daytime. I'm kind of sitting here because I recognize that I want to go in with the eyeshadows first. I do think that I want to play with the Moonlight Crystal palette, even though I need to stop hitting snooze accidentally and hit stop on all my ridiculous alarms that remind me of things that don't exist on the day of, that I have just yet to turn off or update. I'm a mess. I think I'm gonna go in with the Moonlight Crystal palette. I will open this up for you to see, but it's a lot of like blues, purples, and you know, if I haven't shared this here, my soul colors are like blue and purple. I always resonate with cosmic-like palettes, colors. It's just where I naturally gravitate to. So I was obviously drawn to this, and I have no idea how it's gonna go, mostly because I'm not sure how much of like a base I need on my eye before the pigment will come through nicely. So I think that's a part of the play today, is like seeing, oh, if I just like, you know, do a quick super basic base that's like just natural colors, and then throw this on top, like what is that gonna look like? And just so you know, I love this, but Athr Beauty, I guess, like sends oracle cards with their palettes, and for the Moonlight Crystal palette they sent one that I guess is the Lion card, which you can see, and it says, tenacious is the lioness in the face of oppression, unfaltering in conviction and clout. And you know, if you know the work that I do, I'm really here with this. I'm here for it. I want to put it on my wall. Don't know where yet, but it's going up there. And I guess these cards were created in collaboration with a brand or a homie called Cosmic Collage, so go and check that out. I'm going to start with the eyeshadows first, and then depending on where we're at and how we're doing, I'll probably go in with the concealer and give that a try. I might, if you watched the video before this, I might mix it with another concealer that I have for the under eye, because I'm just not sure if it's bright enough, and I am still, I guess, in the like brightening under eye phase of my makeup journey when I want to do concealer, but I'm just not sure if it's because I have such dark, what I feel like gray dark circles under my eyes. Maybe they're not that bad, I don't know, but because that I do still like the brightening effect. So before I go in with the Moonlight Crystal palette, I am just gonna, like I said, throw a little bit of base on here. I'm gonna throw a little bit of just some neutral base on, and most of my brushes are e.l.f. brushes. There's only like a couple, maybe 1 or 2 exceptions to that, so almost every brush you'll see me use is e.l.f. And to just put down some base, I'm going to go in with the ColourPop Sandstone palette. It's just a good basics. You have your warm tones, you have like some cool tones, light. It just runs the gamut, especially for my skin tone and I guess like my color depth. It's a nice, can kind of daytime, nighttime lay base down. So I'm just gonna go in with pretty much like a skin tone color. You're probably not gonna see much out of this at this point. I don't know how much I'm gonna go into it too. I don't know, this is like, I don't play with blue very often. The last time I did a bright sort of blue on the color wheel blue look was, I did it like a blue and gold sort of look, and that's not what we're gonna do today. I can tell you that much. I feel like this made me look sick. Whatever. This light, it's always interesting doing my makeup in this light because it always looks vastly different than how I think it's gonna look anywhere else. I'm gonna go in with a lighter color. Oh wow, this is sparkly. Okay, well, here we are. Just cause I feel like it made me look a little sickly. You can see that ColourPop kicks up. I think I agree that they're really dry formulas. I used to not understand what people were referring to when they said that, but yeah, I think I get it now. It's like they're just really dry. You know, there's not a lot of creaminess there. I'm just going in right now and adding some structure. I've also heard that they are not pigmented, and I don't use them enough to know whether or not they're not pigmented, but I feel like this is doing a pretty quick, good enough job. And you know me, if it's good enough, it's good enough. We are not out here about that perfectionist life. We are just out here trying to play. Trying to have fun. You can tell by the toque I'm in my gosh darn it phase. I'm gonna do that thing where I like talk a bit, get distracted, probably interrupt myself, talk about makeup, go back to talking about the thing, maybe forget where I was at. So you just need to like, there needs to be a sense of like surrender for this video, because again, haven't slept well in a couple of weeks, and that's my own fault. But I'm now sort of like in the habit of not sleeping well, and it's kind of hard to break it at that point for me. So you can just see I just went in and did a little bit of structure. I just want something so that I find that colored, like highly pigmented eyeshadows that go on my face, if I don't have like something underneath it, whether that's like I guess a thin layer of concealer or something like this, it inevitably just stamps and looks like poo on my eye, and I end up being super insecure about it. So I did this sort of to just try and see if I can mitigate that, and I'm just not great at doing makeup, so we're just gonna see how she goes. So I'll show you the Moonlight Crystal Palette, and then we'll get into chatting some real shit today. But yeah, this is what it is, and honestly, as per usual, I think I'm gonna go in with like one of these blues, maybe the teal. I used to have like teal and blue in my hair, and we'll see what kind of supporting role eyeshadows we need in here to make it not just look like the terrible makeup that people did when they were emo kids of my generation. There was no understanding about how to do makeup properly. And so I'm sitting here, and I do think I'm gonna go in with the teal. I don't know, but that like dark royal blue shift purple. It's calling my name. Okay, we're gonna go in with the teal. It's hard. That was a hard choice. We're gonna go in with the teal, and then we'll see if we'll use like the dark royal blue on the outer corner. So I'm just going in. See, like it's very pale. I don't know how much it's gonna take to like get this pumped up in terms of color. This is my first experience actually with any kind of Athr Beauty palette, but I've just heard such good things, that it works so well, that they're really nice to work with. To be honest with you, and I'm not saying that it is because there's no people of color trying out their makeup or they're not working with people of color. I just currently, I guess, don't follow any people of color who are touching their makeup right now. So I actually haven't seen their palettes on darker skin tones, like medium to darker skin tones. I mostly see their palettes on lighter, like white people range of skin tones, and maybe like very light skinned people of color. It's for sure not as bright as I would like, but that's not necessarily surprising. That happens a lot, especially if you don't put down like a white base beforehand. Okay, I'm actually gonna go in with my finger and just like pack some stuff in to see what happens, and maybe then we can blend it out. But yeah, life's interesting. I think I have a problem with the way, I'm gonna say normies, but I do mean like people who don't seem to struggle with things to the same degree, whether that's mental health issues or neurodivergence or queerness or whatever it is. But maybe it's otherness. I do have a problem with, I think, like the stereotypes and misunderstandings and expectations and narratives, especially the narratives that we have around normalcy and getting back on your feet and like fitting in and being, I'm just blending out the edges to see what that looks like. The expectations that we put on folks and the narratives that we create around those expectations. For example, a massive one that's like, I think just been playing hell with my mind recently, and my concept of getting better is the right way to cope, or the right way to, for like things to care about or things to get involved in. And I'm gonna go into specifics because there are obviously limits to this, but there are some specific things that got me through and like really, really helped me get to the end of the year last year when I wasn't feeling great. And it's just taken a long time, and it is still taking time to get better. For those who don't know, I'm trying to figure out my meds and all this jazz. My nose always runs when I do videos too, if you're new here. But those things, I think, on the outside, and for a lot of people, and a lot of the narratives that I've heard over the years, are not good coping mechanisms. And that's frustrating because, you know, things like, for me, it was video games, which I'm new to, so I was playing a lot of like Zelda Breath of the Wild and really enjoying it, and I guess practicing some like dissociation and or escapism. But that plus some of the books that I was reading, and I love fantasy books. Again, I'm not interested in living in this reality more than I have to, because it's a lot. It's a lot for some folks to be here 24/7, and when really they want to be out slaying dragons, you know, and doing magic. A lot of the general feedback and conditioning that I think we all sort of went through when we were younger, at least in my generation, I'm not sure about the younger ones, is that like those aren't good things to help you get through, that you should be like exercising, and you should really, you know, be like eating well and finding hobbies that are really productive to like get you out of your slump. And while I don't disagree, and I think that those are good options, I also think there's this habit of demonizing the alternative options. And those happen always, I find, to be the options that are actually a lot more accessible to people struggling. And that's things like, yeah, like video games, sleep, not doing as much, taking time off, eating food that brings you comfort or like maybe provides dopamine. There's just this way of like those being not good ways of coping, and the other ones being better. And sure, I guess, I don't know that I agree with that. I don't, just because there's a lot there, obviously, like fat phobia, among 100 other things. So I don't know that I agree with that necessarily, as well, like, especially because studies and science and all the we talk about health has changed so much and is so just directed by racism and patriarchy and making sure that massive groups of people feel terrible and stay under thumb. So I just don't know how much I buy into that anyways. But on top of that, by saying that these are like the good ways of coping, what people, and that the other ones are like, you know, second class types of ways of coping, you're just making it actually harder for, it just makes things harder for people who are struggling to even get the gains of using those ways of coping, because the entire time that they're using them, they're still thinking in their head that they're not really doing anything. There's still this secondary narrative going on in their brain that like, this isn't actually good, this isn't actually coping, this isn't actually helping me get better, this is just wasting my life, wasting my time, when I could be doing things that everyone says would be so much better for me, but I just can't make myself. And I don't know if you hear that there, but there's a shame cycle that this type of narrative around different ways of like getting yourself out of wherever you're emotionally at that's hard, or physically at that's hard, that yeah, this narrative just invests in a cycle of shame that keeps people down. That shame cycle that I'm referring to then, it mimics what people expect of it, which is that because the folks struggling or who that's the most accessible way of feeling okay in a day aren't actually getting all that they could be getting out of those ways of dealing and ways of feeling better, they don't get better, maybe at all, maybe fast enough. And so then outsiders look to this dynamic and they're like, oh, see, they're not good ways of coping, they're not good ways of taking care of themselves, like they should be doing those things. When really, that's not what it is. It's all the expectations, it's all of the narratives about how this isn't good enough, it's not right, this is not what they should be doing with their time, that is stealing what investment they're trying to make in themselves that they possibly can at that point. And I have such a hard time with it, and I have such a hard time with people arguing back and saying that that's not a real thing. Especially folks who've never been there and who don't understand. Or maybe have, and have maybe just forgotten to do the healing aspect of like being at peace with who they were then. I think that's a massive thing. I think people work so hard to not be in that anymore, to not be that version of themselves, but they never take the time to truly love that part of themselves in it or afterwards. So anybody else who's struggling in the way that they were, they have a lack of empathy, they have a lack of like willingness to recognize their humanity and the validity of their struggle, because it just reminds them of the hellscape that was their own mind and how much they didn't like themselves back then. And I think it's valid to struggle with liking yourself in these moments. I really, really do, but it really doesn't help the people who are still in it. For folks who are coming out of it or who are on the other side to not do the work of figuring out how to like yourself, and how to have forgiven yourself for being there in the first place. And inevitably, if you don't do that additional work, you're still there's still, I'm not saying you specifically, but there's still a perpetuating of the problem where you, because you don't like it, you're not having empathy. And when you, especially you as the person who has been there and come out of it or is on the easier side of it, you know, the other side, if you can't empathize and you look down on people and you say, well, you should just be able to X, like, why don't you should be able to just go for a walk. Walking helps so much, like, exercise helps so much, like, if you were eating better, it would help so much more. You're just contributing to other people not being able to get themselves out of the hole. And, you know, it's rough. And I think folks who don't struggle that way, I think I'm gonna, like, specify mental health here because that's honestly what I'm thinking of. But folks who struggled with a mental illness and hit a low and didn't do the additional work of like remembering and holding empathy and finding a way to like love themselves through it and remember that it was just like really difficult, and it's valid however you grasp the straws, and that those like small things that society tells us aren't good enough and we should feel bad and aren't really coping were some of the first steps it took to like get to the better options. If you forget all those things and you forget to do the work around that, like I said, it's still just a perpetuating of the problem, because then other people who've never experienced mental illness look at you who has. I don't know how this is going in terms of like eyeshadow. I grabbed a lighter purple to see if it would like blend the edges out. I have no idea what's happening. But people who've never experienced it look at you, you know, these people who have gone through it, who are still being judgmental of the ones in it, and say, well, like, look, they agree with us. They think that this is a waste of time, because when those folks were in it, it felt like a waste of time. They shamed themselves, they allowed them, like, they bought into the narrative that these weren't actually ways of getting better, that these were just ways of, like, killing time. And that's not their fault, but there is work to be done once you're out, to remember that, yeah, those are some of the first steps to feeling better. You know, picking up a video game, getting a break from all of the awful until you can handle it again is still rest. It's still showing up. I genuinely don't find that as running away. It's an intentional thing where you're like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. What I'm putting in is just at this point now adding to the problem, if anything, because I'm not making anything better. So I'm just gonna take a break and be over here because that's all I've got. That's amazing self-recognition, even if it comes from a triggered place, to be able to be like, oh, like I'm not okay, I'm not cool, I need to go be over here. But when people who've never struggled with mental health see other people who have and who are on the other side talk about these coping mechanisms or about these like baby steps like they're nothing and they're something to be ashamed of, they look at that, they point to that, and they go, see, even they think so, when really it's just an internalized narrative of shame. It all counts. Anything you're trying to do, including taking a nap when you feel tired, counts. And I guess I'm just frustrated. I think I'm just frustrated listening to that narrative and have it sort of like imposed on me when I know differently. But when it's imposed on me and it's imposed on the people that I love, it frustrates me because it's another round of having to do the work of reminding yourself that what you are striving towards, even if it's just getting out for a walk every day or the like 1% improvement on eating comfort food that has some vegetables in it, but it's still comfort food, you have to go through the whole rigmarole of reminding yourself that that's enough. And I think that that's trash. That's trash. Adding that onto someone's plate when they're just creating opportunities for that whole thought process to come back up and to haunt them when the person's just trying to get better, you're just making it harder. You know, it's just getting harder and harder and harder, and things are piling up, and it feels like the world's against you. So I wanted to bring that here because I don't know if a lot of people agree. By all means, if you disagree and if there's more to it than that, I guess you can drop it in the comments. I really don't think you're going to change my mind because, again, I just think it's nuanced, and I think that there's so much healing that's there, and once you're kind of out of the hole or on the other side of it, I'll be like, let's be real, you don't really want to like keep doing hard work. You just want to like relish in being okay again and not having to have to put in that work just to function. So it goes undone by a lot of people. I don't like watching people I care about or watching myself have to continuously convince themselves or myself that it's enough. That's just, it's so frustrating. So yeah, I guess sound off in the comments, let me know what you think about that, because it's complicated. There are layers there. I spend a lot of time thinking about this because I'm like, why do I feel like such bad? I don't know if you're the same way, but let me know. Does your body understand something being wrong before your brain processes why? I find that I always get sort of a signal, an emotional signal or somatic signal from my body long before I ever have the words to voice why something is wrong. You know, like I just know that it's wrong. I can just feel that what's happening isn't okay. But if you ask me to put it into words, I will like sit there and talk around it for so long because I genuinely can't figure out exactly what it is. I know that it's there. I know that it's not right, but I can't put my finger on exactly why. And that's, I think, I don't know. We went too hard, too fast. That's sometimes, I think, really difficult. Because, again, I think society doesn't really respect that type of wisdom. It respects a very patriarchal, white type of wisdom that is like, oh, you can argue calmly and logically and sort with sources and all that shit. Cool, then I'll believe you, then it's maybe real. But if you don't get to just say something feels wrong and have that be enough. That's not wisdom, that's just X. And I hate it. I hate it, y'all. Okay, well, that looks messy. We'll see. You know, mascara, eyeliner usually makes it. And so I used a couple of shadows from the Athr palette. I used a like warm purple. I'm not going to flip it because I think that there's going to be some fallout. I can see I kicked up some stuff, and maybe I will. I'll just try and do it less direct. So you can probably see I went in with this one. I went in here and I touched on this dark almost black and as well as this purple. So I think that's what I'm going to use from here. That being said, I'm not done necessarily. I could use some of the shimmer shades from that palette, but you know me, I am multi-chrome, and sometimes I find like when a look is like intense like this, sometimes a multi-chrome can just sort of like ease it, because I don't know, I think it's a little patchy, and that's not on the palette. I think that's me mostly trying to learn how to do this thing. And you probably can see the patchiness. I'll see if I can like cut in close for this. But there's definitely, I could have done a better job of mixing. I just don't have it in me to keep going, and I recognize that I've been already running my mouth for so long. So I'm gonna go in with, oh man, it's probably gonna be my like all-time fave. Yeah, I think so. Okay, I'm gonna go in with one of my favorite multi-chromes. You've probably seen this in some of my other videos. It is called, I believe, Jelly from Looksy Beauty. If I'm wrong and it's another, my nail's too long. Yes, Jelly from Looksy Beauty. And you will see it in just a second. I'll try and go up close so you can just sort of see real quick the difference that it makes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. One swipe, y'all. One swipe. I don't know if I love this eye look. But I do love, and that's again not on Athr, that's me learning, being in a learning journey around makeup. Again, makeup is fun. I do not pretend to know anything about makeup above and beyond basics, or things that are not based in knowledge, are more so based in like, I don't like how this looks, or like, I'm just gonna feather the edges of that a little bit. Like, these eyeshadows are wild, these multi-chromes from Looksy, and they're very inexpensive. If you're looking to play and like get to know some multi-chromes, do not sleep on these. They are so worth it, so worth the money, and they're like $3, $4 USD. And she has an insane collection. She sells out a lot because they're so good and so inexpensive. But so I'm going in with another multi-chrome that I'll show you in just a second. It kind of looks like a Winter Wonderland multi-chrome, and I'm just using this in the corner to sort of create, I lost a bit of the dark depth at the end there with the multi-chrome, and so I think I'm gonna use this to create some light depth, I don't know, the opposite of depth in here in the inner corners, and blend that into Jelly. I think we all just need to lay off the judgment and remember that a lot of the things that our society has told us is important, or the right way of looking at things, has not worked for so many people. Well, it doesn't work for anyone, let's be real, but has been so dysfunctional for so many people for so long that, you know, it's part of the reason that mental health is what it is right now, and there's something to that. Okay, so I'm just gonna go back in and sort of try and mattify the outer corners again, because I sort of lost the depth. Am I just wasting my time? I think it's important for me to say some of that stuff out loud, because as much as I talk about it confidently too, dude, you question everything. You question everything when you're in this stage, or at any stage. Nothing feels certain, and I've been having these thoughts. I just don't want to have them alone anymore. And sometimes it's easier to think them and talk about them when you're also doing a very pretty eye look. Oh man, this is getting patchy and patchy. Whatever. Alright, I think we're calling it for now. And now, sorry, I just want to like clean this up because it feels like the dark goes higher than I want it to, and now I realize that I have like a super solid edge, but I'm wondering if, since I walked that back, I can now do a bit of easier blending. understanding, if that makes sense. So all this obviously stemmed from like experiences that I'm having, but it also stemmed from a place of there are these trends going around on social media right now, and I love me some social media. I get it. There's problems to it. It affects your mental health. I see those. I see that research. I get it. But I also think that if you can curate your content streams to reflect support that you need or voices that you need to hear because you're, you know, whatever it is, queer, you're a person of color, you're an activist or mentally ill, and you need to hear other mentally ill voices talk about this so that your inside feelings become, I don't know, outside words and understandings. I think social media can be a really phenomenal tool. And I know a lot of people say that. I genuinely, and maybe it sounds like but I genuinely think that. There are these trends happening on social media right now of like, let's freak out the normies, like dissociate in 3, 2, 1, or like a lot of just funny pieces of content around being abnormal that I've just been really appreciating. I think that's a part of what stemmed this, was I was just like seeing some of that content and seeing like what it's like to be mentally ill and neurodivergent and deal. You know, whether it's being in a bad place or just you don't have to be doing badly to still just handle life differently than quote-unquote normal people do. Okay, for now. For now, I think I'm done with like eye playtime. I am just gonna clean up some of what I did over here a little bit, just so that it looks a little bit less like crap. The cool thing about being a mess, I love that certain people are like here for really like amazing put together eye looks and like great base and blah 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 blah, but like that's not me. I'm a mess, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being a mess. I think people think being a mess is a bad thing, but we're human. We're supposed to be messy. There's way too much happening in most of our noggins to not be messy. Life is messy. I don't know. I'm gonna go in with the mascara now and see what kind of big bang we're looking at here. Remember, this is first impressions for a lot of this. Oh, it's really nice. I mean, it's not as, when I heard Big Bang, I was sort of thinking it would come out and immediately be like the e.l.f. Big Mood mascara, but it's not. It's different. So the brush is, it's nice. It's a nice brush. My eyelashes do not look good right now. I don't know if that's this or me, but I'm gonna go in on the other side because that's usually my better lash side. Comment if you have a better I got it on my under eye. A better lash side. How do you blink so hard you get it in your under eye? But yes, comment below if you, like, what side is your better lash side if you know it, because I know. I know my better, and I know my better eyebrow side, and I know my better lash side, and they are opposites. So my eyes always end up looking janky. I got me some janky ass eyes, Holmes. Okay, that's better. Maybe I was just being a little harsh on my eyelashes. Just so you know, I'm actually quite liking this. It's sticky. It's a sticky formula right off the bat. I'm not sure what that's gonna mean for the, like, in a couple weeks as it dries out. But right now, it's quite nice. It's sticky, it's not clumpy, but it is doing that, like, sort of hunky chunky thing. Ugh, I must have pulled out so many eyelashes. If you look at the front of this eye, there's like no eyelashes there. I did get something stuck. Oh, it's twice. I did get something stuck in my eye last night. Probably that was fucking makeup. So maybe that's what it was. Alright, good enough. So I will say, I do not like this as much as I liked the Tower 28, but it's a cute formula. It looks like, yeah, I think it looks really good in the monitor. Maybe I'm crazy, but it's really dark. It's sticky, it's kind of chunky. It does sort of give me the grungy feels. I scooched in really close because I felt like I was really far and I couldn't see what was happening in the monitor. So now I've gone in and done my skincare before coming in. And now I think I'm just going to give the Mango Drop concealer a try. And I'm gonna do what I did last time, which is really buff it out all over the face. But we will just see about the color match. I mean, I don't think it's bad. I know you and I can both see that it does not match all the skin on my face, but like we've talked about in other videos, it happens when you're a person of color that like your face skin isn't the same everywhere, the same tone. And part of the journey of base is when you're a person of color is like figuring out how to navigate that, or at least when I was younger, like there was not as much content about base, especially as it relates to people of color when I was slightly younger than this, early to mid-20s. So as you can see, I'm like really shearing it out, but it did a really good job of like just slightly evening it out. Again, like I've always said, we're not trying to hide bodies here. We are just, you know, trying to have fun, trying to like play with what is. Actually, I do think the tone is really good. I don't know if you could see that against some of the darker parts of my face, but like the forehead part looked really nice. It looked like upon blending out, it was matching quite well. Yeah. Okay, so then what I'm gonna do now, I like it. It blends out really nicely, and I know for a fact you can build it up because I have, and I've seen other people do it. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of boop boop and build it up in the areas that I would like, just a little bit, and then I think we're gonna go in with our concealer mix. Okay, so this is, I think, the problem that I have sometimes with blue is it does emphasize that sort of grayness. I mean, you can see here I got it like full on. Yeah, both sides I got it full on in those corners. So yeah, this is where I'm gonna do the mix with the KVD and the, oh, that's a lot, the Kulfi concealer. But I have the KVD Good Apple in medium 146. It's like that tone, and I'll show you next to the Kulfi. Yeah, the Kulfi is just a little bit warmer, a little bit darker. Let's see if the light will pick up that subtle difference. Yeah, you can see a little bit. So we're not trying to go so lightening, but we are still trying to do a bit of it. I'm gonna go in with, again, the e.l.f. concealer brush, and I'm doing a gentle mix. I'm not laying this down like especially well or anything. I'm probably gonna go back in with that, no additional product, but with that complexion brush. Yeah, see, the blue really fucks the concealer up and makes it look gray. I'm sweating. Alright, I'm gonna just like re-blend that out because I recognize that I just sort of threw it on there. And I think I'm gonna use like a creamier white in the corners, maybe again from that Sandstone palette, if I can figure out where I'll put it. Just to mitigate that like grayness that's showing up there. I mean, good enough. I'll just stamp it, I guess, and then work with it. Do you like my little baby noises happening in the background? Also, I just heard that I just heard a protest go by. Here's hoping it's for something good. I think I saw in my Surge channel, I've been too out of it to join recently, but I think I saw that there was some stuff going down. So that's good to know. Okay, base done. Last couple of things that I want to play with today. Obviously, we're gonna go in with the Pat McGrath and hope that I have enough battery to do the other things, but if not, that's fine. I'm not gonna do my eyebrows today because today's makeup playtime. It's not about all of the things, it's just about playing with the things I would like to play with. So I got the Pat McGrath Skin Fetish Divine Blush in Love Struck. And this is what it looks like. It's very nice. I don't know, I'm not gonna talk about colors. And we're gonna see how she goes. It is powder. Uh-oh. Oh. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Everything's fine. Help. Somebody help me. Okay, I can do this. I can deal with this. Look. It's going great. Look, it didn't stamp. It just laid down and now it's moving. I like it. It might clash a bit with the blue just because maybe I could have gone with like a more peachy tone. But I don't mind. I don't care if I look like an 80s slew. I am... all looks are lovely looks. I love color. Okay, though, it's like quite pigmented. That happened, I barely touched that blush and only went in once more on the other side to just sort of like, maybe it doesn't come out that pigmented over there, I mean, on screen, but like, I saw it's quite pigmented here. Hopefully that just dies down. To mitigate that a little bit, I'm gonna throw some of bronzer on. I'm just making it worse, I think. Okay, well, I love this blush. It's very pigmented. I am very, like, this is gonna last for forever because I need so little. I guess I'll just do a little quick brow just so they don't look so silly. Like they are kind of disappearing on my face. And then I will swatch some of the lip stuff that I have. I'm using the Kosas brow pencil, likely in dark brown or Nespresso. I really don't like using the black in any eyebrow pencil because I think it just is a little too dramatic. I get a little bit stressy. Doing this real bad, just trying to very quickly do something about them. I feel like this is what happens when you this is always what happens to me when I'm like, oh, I've got plenty of time to get ready, and then I putz and enjoy one process and like get in my head and just do like some really solid thinking while I'm getting ready, and then I look up and I have 15 minutes and I'm like, oh Jesus, I'm not even dressed, and then I like have to rush through and everything else is like maybe not quite good enough, but like good enough, if that makes sense, to like get out the door. Like if no one looks too closely, it's probably fine. Do you happen to experience that? And okay, so I'm just gonna do a little swatchy swatch of the Athr lip products, and then I am going to, I think I'm just gonna do a lip liner and the Pat McGrath gloss. Whoa, these are like, okay, so on first impression, even just swatching them on my arm, they're thick, which I don't mind. I think a lot of people don't like thick lip glosses and stuff, but I kind of do. So, okay, up top here, we have, did I just get my finger in it? We have Harmony. Hello. Harmony is the top one. And then Wisdom. Yeah, Wisdom is that bottom reddish color. Why do I always do this? Harmony and Wisdom. They're really cute. I like them. I like them a lot. They're like milky, very pigmented. I'm here for it. Using my NYX Line Loud lip pencil and Total Baller, which I almost, without realizing, bought a second one of the other day because I was like, oh, this is a really nice brown. Like, do I already own this one? I do. The answer was I did. I do. And I overline my Cupid's bow just a touch because it's quite pointy. And here's the Pat McGrath gloss. And that's everything. I look like I'm going out to party. My camera's gonna die, so I'm gonna say goodbye. But I really appreciate you hanging out with me today and just playing around with this look. It is some type of look. And listening to me talk about some things that have been on my mind that have, I guess, just been hard to navigate and cope with. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you really want to, please subscribe. I'd love to have you around. It's nice not to be alone. And thank you for spending this time. I'll see you next week, hopefully.